Yep, it's your boy Cook. You know what it is, the More Muse podcast, and we are back with another women's history episode. We are highlighting a lot of women's history this month. There's a lot of historical things that women are doing right now. And today on the show, I got a very special guest from Raleigh, North Carolina, the North Side, former Richmond Spider, former Broughton High School athlete as well, basketball player as well. The second woman to be named G League GM, a GM for an NBA G League team, and also the founder of FoRR the City Foundation, Amber Nichols. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So first, like I said, thank you for your time today. I know you're a busy woman. So and also I'll be remiss to mention you were Forbes 30 under 30 as well. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, from Broughton High School to Richmond. Can you talk about that? Just playing basketball and what led you to Richmond, and who else you were recruited by?
Yeah, so I started playing basketball probably when I was about 7 or 8. Um, One interesting thing though was I tried AAU when I was 9 and I didn't really like it. And so I just, continued through like just the Parks and Rec system. And then once I got to Daniels Middle School and was able to play in the 7th grade, that's really when kind of basketball kind of took off for me. Then I started playing AAU again, going into my 8th and 9th grade years. Um, and so upon like my senior year, I had a lot of interest my sophomore season, University of California, West Virginia. And then my senior year, I had a lot of, mid-major schools come after me. Some high majors like took a visit to Miami,
Okay.
schools like that. But ultimately, I settled on Richmond. It was 2.5 hours away from home. My parents could come see me play. Family could come see me play. Um, it was a really good school academically, and that's always been important to me and my family. Um, and I also knew that I should have an opportunity there when I came in. They had 2 point guards that were seniors that were leaving. And so my intention was to, come in and be able to make an impact by my second season.
Yeah. So I want your opinion on the AAU circuit nowadays. I'm not sure if you're still involved, any type of way with AAU, but where do you see it now? Because it's kind of, I hear a lot of people say, especially a lot of older people say that AAU is kind of watered down now. So what is your opinion on that?
I think there are some really good AAU programs. And then obviously, I think there are some that um kind of are distracted by, the social media and the process of establishing and discovering a player and getting that player to the league more so than it's just about the development of the kids.
Mhm.
And so I think those programs that keep that mission, with developing the kids wholeheartedly as people and as players, I think those are the good programs. And then I think obviously you have some others, and the style of play isn't really great right now. I mean, you have a few teams that are very structured, but for the most part, it's kind of, run and gun basketball, play fast pace, no defense really,
Mhm.
just a bunch of guys getting numbers. And that's why, when you have players sometimes come from that system, it's hard, for them to adapt at the next level, the collegiate and professional levels where there is a lot of structure, and there is a commitment to attention to detail, and there is a commitment to holding, players accountable.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely like to see it get back to a little bit more structured, and a little bit more competitiveness, like how it was, when I was playing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree big time. So from Richmond to the University of Georgia, where you got your master's, uh, can you talk about obviously I'm assuming you got your master's in order to climb up in the ranks to become a GM. So can you talk about I guess what did you study at University of Georgia and what led you to even, get the master's?
Yeah, so at Richmond, I majored in sociology. They didn't really have a sports management program at Richmond. And so my mindset was in order to kind of break into the league, I need some type of sports management background paired with my experience as a athlete. And so I also like just always, wanted to live in Atlanta and live in Georgia. A lot of my friends, were, there and grew up there. And I just wanted the exact opposite experience than what I had at Richmond. Richmond's a very small school. There was like 3,000 students. I wanted to go to a, high major, huge school and just be a regular student and just enjoy the student life that I didn't really get a chance to have as a student athlete. With our schedule, basketball is like you kind of taken away from just being. And so I felt like Georgia checked the box on all of those. And so that's why I chose Georgia. I also felt like Atlanta and that the greater Atlanta area would give me the best opportunity at trying to find internships and help me kind of break into the sports industry. So that's why I went there as well.
Okay. So you also went from the Sacramento Kings ticket sales to interning for the NBA Players Association to all those things. Like, what did you learn in that aspect that made you want to become a GM in the first place?
Yeah, so honestly, like through my experiences, I've always, loved watching the NBA. I grew up playing in my neighborhood with a bunch of guys, and I've always gravitated more towards the NBA. And I was just really infatuated with like playing chess and in the terms of like building a roster and what types of skill sets and personalities and characteristics fit together to make a successful team. And that's really what kind of started getting me intrigued with being a GM, and just the other stops along the way just help prepare me in terms of just professionalism and learning how to navigate the sports industry as a whole. So I would say that those roles just help me with that.
Yeah, can you kind of talk about, I guess, how difficult it is to run a team? Because I mean, let's be honest. You see on Twitter, everybody think they a GM. Everybody think they know which players are supposed to go where. What's supposed to go on in the organization. But having that actual job and being behind the scenes and making those decisions can't be easy. So can you talk about how, I guess, how you navigate that on a day-to-day basis, making those tough decisions?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really difficult, especially as a woman. You never get any of the credit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, and but a lot of it is, managing expectations and just say managing the ebbs and flows of just what comes with the season, like players struggling, buying into roles, individual success, team success, adversity, like all those things are something that you're managing and on a day-to-day basis. And then also the other part of it is building the roster and building you know a roster that's going to be successful at the G League level. Is a little different because obviously you want to prioritize development, necessarily over winning. But I've been a firm believer here that we can do both, and we've done that. My first since I've been GM, we've made the playoffs every year, and we've also done a good job of finding those diamonds in the rough, those underrated players that we can bring into our system, develop them, and then hope that they take the next step and become an NBA player. And so those are the really my day to days. Talking to agents, talking to players, talking to our coaching staff, our head coach. Really just managing personalities and expectations, and also holding people accountable to make sure you get the most out of them, and having real basketball conversations and telling these guys like what they have to do in order to get to the next level. And so that's something that I love about the job though.
Yeah. Do you think you need to, I guess, play the game to be able to understand the game to at a competent level where you could be able to be a GM or work in the front office?
So I don't think you necessarily have to play, but I do think playing gives you an edge.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to relate to these guys and knowing what they're going through, on a mental level is, something that separates you. But I definitely don't want to say that, if you don't play, you don't have an opportunity or a chance to, run a team. I don't think that's like that. I think as long as you put in the work and you love the game and, you're genuine about what you want to do, I think you can be successful in anything.
Yeah, I agree. So and I'm glad you harped on, being a woman and have your word kind of tested on a daily basis. Like, I want to know, for you as a woman, how, especially as a Black woman, like, do you go through that still, like, till this day, since you've been there a few years? Like, do you still go through that, and do people kind of go against your judgment when you like a player or when you think a certain player is special?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, don't I don't, read, too much into it. I'm kind of like a silent assassin. Like, I'm quiet. And but people sometimes mistake my, quietness for a weakness. And,
Mm-hmm.
I speak up when I need to. And, I know, during the day to day, the impact that I have on our group and our team. And I know the things that I've done to make our organization successful. And honestly, that's all I care about is the real ones know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my mentality is that the real ones know, the real ones recognize. People can try to take the credit for what it is that you've done, or not give you the credit or overlook you. But as a Black woman, that's it's sad, but that's the experience of being a Black woman, especially a Black woman in sports. And
Mm-hmm.
I just continue to do my role to the best of my ability, because I know ultimately that's going to lead to more of us, and we're powerful together, and more of us should yield more respect. And so that's one of my goals, obviously.
That's a fact. So I I want to know, I guess, why the NBA and not the WNBA for you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I just want to do basketball at the highest level, and I don't feel like just because I'm a woman, I should automatically want to be a part of the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
I just gravitate towards just the style of play in the NBA, being able to help young men, like, them kind of seeing you as like the older sister. And, ultimately, like, that's my goal. I want to do something special. I want to do something that hasn't been done before, and that's lead an NBA team as a Black woman. And no place, better to do it than, in the NBA.
That's a fact. So as the GM for the Capital City Go-Go, you also scout for the Wizards. Now we're in March. March Madness is going on. NCAA tournament is going on. What do you look for in players that's coming out of, that's coming out of the tournament? What do you look for? And I guess, who exactly do you, is there a certain player or a certain trait that you look for when you're scouting?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, me personally, I always, gravitate towards like high IQ players that compete, that can defend,
Mm-hmm.
that have, some type of, skill set. Also, like, kind of am unorthodox. I like, bringing, different types of players, and, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. Um, but I really, I think it starts with point guards, someone that can kind of manage your team, some, complete game manager, facilitator. That's important at the G League level, because if you have NBA assignments that play on the wing or that play in the post, you need someone to distribute them the ball, to make sure that they're excelling in the role that they'll need to excel in to impact the Wizards. And so all of our guys have been through something. I like guys that have faced some sort of adversity. Not necessarily saying that guys that haven't aren't great players. It's just at the
That
G
grit.
League. Yeah, in the G League, I mean, you're not making a lot of money, and you're competing for a finite, small number of spots. And so you got to have a backbone, and something to, you know, push you to get to the next level. And so I think that's really special. And those are, some of the guys that we have, in our organization. And I think, that's ultimately what has made us successful.
Yeah, I agree. I think as far as like, as players, they get into that point in the G League. Everybody has an NBA dream that's obviously in the G League. So like, do you see players get discouraged and just quit, or they can't really take the pressure?
Well, I mean it's situational, like I tell our guys every day, you can do everything right, and your opportunity still may never come. But I also tell them if you don't do everything right, it definitely won't.
That's a fact.
And so, I've seen, guys, reality hits them at some point. Everybody's not going to make the NBA. That's why there hasn't been very many, NBA players, over time. It's very difficult to do. And so I want to tell them that, like, just because, your journey may not lead you to the NBA doesn't mean that you can't maximize your earning potential and, find other opportunities to continue playing basketball. Like you can go overseas. And people have really good careers overseas and are able to take care of their families and sustain. And so I just, try to preach to our guys like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and be where your feet are. Like while you're here, definitely grind and give yourself the best opportunity to make it. But if it doesn't, it's time to revamp and figure out what the next best opportunity is for you.
Yeah. I like that. I think a lot of people need to realize at a certain point, yeah, maybe you should try to find a different avenue. Like keep sticking to what you're doing, obviously, but and try to succeed in it. But I guess have a backup plan. Is that healthy? Like, to have in when you chasing a career that's the only thing you want to do.
Well, I mean, basketball wise, I wouldn't necessarily call it a backup plan. I think you got to put all your energy into where you are, and see what comes of it. But I also think you gotta figure out what your priorities are. Like, do you
Mhm.
have a family that you're trying to provide for? You know, what's your age, like how many playing years do you have left, because ultimately at some point you got to make the best decision for you, and sometimes that's not continuing to stay in an opportunity where you're comfortable, or where another opportunity that you want may not come. But I also seen some guys remain steadfast and be patient, and see their work pay off.
Yeah,
Gary Payton II was in the G League for 8 years,
absolutely.
and just signed a $28 million contract. And so it's just situational. I mean, you know yourself, but at the same time, I mean, you just kind of got to have the wherewithal to know, like, am I doing everything in my power to get my opportunity? Am I seeing, some forms of success that says I should stay here? Or is it time to just kind of revamp and, find another alternative? Because I mean, PJ Tucker went overseas for a couple years, then
Yeah,
came back. And so
that's a fact.
there's no, one direct pathway to the NBA. And so I try to, preach that, to our guys.
Yeah, that's real. I do have one question. It's more of as a fan than as a journalist, and I know a lot of my viewers will want to know this as well. If you had have any knowledge on why, but I would love to know in that a couple of years ago in that Lakers Wizards trade, why, I guess, what made the Wizards, I guess, give up Russ for for so much in return.
I can't talk about it.
Okay. Now I had to ask though. I had
Yeah,
to
yeah,
ask.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, just from a general perspective, I mean, the idea of trades is to make sure you're, you know, getting a fair value back for the asset that you give
Mm,
up. And that's the beauty of being a GM, is executing trades and, trying to figure out, like, did we get um, you know, more or equal to, what we gave up, and, ultimately, like, how did what we get back make us better? And so I think, the Wizards did a great job, with that trade. Tommy Shepard and the, rest of their staff, um, did a really good job with that.
yeah.
And it made us better. Kuz is, still a product of that trade, and he's here. And he's had, a really good season. And so when you can, do a trade like that that helps your team,
Yeah.
I think you gotta do it.
Yeah. Now I know you can't confirm or say this, but I think y'all will really be lucky to sign Kuz long term this offseason. can't let him walk away. Obviously, you know that, but like, I mean, he's a big asset. But I asked that question because I just wanted to know how you thought about it as a basketball fit, and I just want to know if you think you benefited from that trade, being that you guys didn't make the Wizards didn't make the playoffs last year. So I just wanted to, I guess I just wanted to for some kind of understanding on that, to see if you had any inside knowledge. Um, so let's move on. FoRR the City, it's your youth foundation in Raleigh. Can you talk about why you started that foundation and what is the ultimate goal for it?
Yeah, I started, FoRR the City about a year ago, and I was, sitting to myself, and I always, thought about like, when and how I want to give back, given the opportunities I've been able to foster, for myself in the NBA. And I have a lot of younger cousins that um ended up, in the streets or, locked up. And, it just was heavy on my heart that, like, if they had some type of program or structure that they could have been enrolled in at a younger age, how would their life been different?
Absolutely.
And so that's what kind of led to FoRR the City. And basically what it is it's all about, professional development for the youth and exposing them to things that, they may have not otherwise seen. And, 2 nights ago, we actually bought, 50 kids and their parents to Greensboro to, watch my team play, the Charlotte Hornets G League affiliate. And, a lot of those kids had never been to, an NBA game. Obviously, it wasn't a real NBA game, but it's just close as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of them had never been. And to be able to provide the opportunity for them to experience with their parents. Then they also had like a, mental health session where they're able to recognize the signs of like, their child, struggling, with mental health. Cause, at that age, it's hard to communicate what you're going through sometimes with your parents, because you don't want them to judge you and you don't know how they're going to process it or react. And so sometimes you hold that stuff in. And so what FoRR the City is it always ties, some type of event that's fun and that benefits the kids with some type of educational aspect of it. And we're going to do my basketball camp again this summer, and it was held at Broughton, where we had 50 kids. I had, NBA coaches from the Wizards, come down to Raleigh and provide like elite basketball instruction. And then they went through a, professional career development course where they learned how to, build a resume, how to, perform well in an interview, their eligibility requirements for playing athletics in college, and what they need to do grade wise, other alternatives to a 4-year university like community college and trade school, and how to apply for those. And so that's something that, is really important to me, is making sure I do my part to help, the younger kids out.
I love that. I wish we had something like that when we was growing up. So I love that the fact that you have this foundation. And if you ever need any volunteers for your basketball camp, please let me know, because
Absolutely.
I'll definitely pop out. So you made the Forbes list for 30 under 30. Obviously that's not something you hear from every day. You don't meet somebody every day that's on that list. Is it true? Do you have to apply for it? Or
So somebody nominate. It's like a nomination system.
okay.
So somebody, I don't know, nominated me, I guess, and then I guess your nomination is reviewed by some type of board of former listers and the Forbes editorial
Mm-hmm.
group, and then they come up with this list. And to be honest with you, I really had no idea. I woke up to go use the bathroom
Wow.
at like 7 a.m, and next thing I know, I had a text from one of my former colleagues. He's like, "Yo, congrats!" And I was like, "Congrats!" And I clicked on the link that he sent me and made it, and it's just crazy. Just the access that it gives you. I went to the Forbes 30 under 30 summit in Detroit in September. And the keynote speakers were like Meg Thee Stallion and a bunch of entrepreneurs and investors, and just having that access to that, level, that network is something that's going to help me not just in my basketball endeavors, but just, my brand and personal endeavors as well. And so I'm just, super grateful for that acknowledgement for sure.
Yeah. Since then, how has it helped, everything else in your life?
It's been super helpful. Like I said, it's introduced me to people that I probably wouldn't have otherwise met. Um, Powerful people that can help me, with some of my, business endeavors. I want to get into real estate. And
Okay.
so, being around, a group of people that have made, millions and billions of dollars doing that is good. And then also it's just helpful and just you know, being a motivating factor for, others that look like me to try to make the list as well.
Yeah. So what I know you were saying how, being a GM, you like to, you know, go in on a personal level, make sure everybody's okay, be like an older sister. But besides that, what sets you apart, when you're doing your job as a GM? What sets you apart from other GMs in the NBA or in the G League?
Honestly, I think it's my ability to balance being personable with holding these guys accountable. I think, every player that I've been able to work with, we just had that, foundation of trust right away. And just being able to, hold those guys accountable and be able to understand what they're going through and be someone that they can confide into has, helped me. And, I think that's the benefit of being a Black woman is naturally like, young men are disarmed.
Mhm.
um I look like the sister or the mother or the friend, and naturally like they gravitate, towards my energy. And I think, that helps me. And then also, the fact that I, played, and the fact that I've been through a lot, um I think, helps me as well. And I just, can't wait to see, where it leads, honestly.
So outside of basketball, I like to ask people this question outside of their careers. Who is Amber?
Outside of basketball, I'm really, chill. I like, watching shows and, Netflix, and I'm getting into cooking now, and I like interior design. Like I love, going with my mom to like West Elm or Crate and Barrel and like, finding stuff from my apartment. Because my crib is like my place of peace where I can like sit in solitude. And a lot comes with this job, a lot of stress. Just, wanting to help people, a lot comes with that. And so, having a place of peace, where I can, try to detach, from all of that and just, be and exist is super important to me. So I put a lot into, where I live. And then I love my family. I love being around my friends. I love laughing and joking. I can be very serious at times, and then other times I can be the jokester and make
Mhm.
people laugh. And that's who I am. And I love talking basketball. I love meeting people and learning about their experiences. I love traveling. So yeah, I mean that's just who I am.
Yeah. Do you feel like the Go-Go has to win a championship to solidify your, I guess, status as a GM?
No, I don't. And I think that's, really difficult to do. Now if we do that, that's a bonus for sure. Those guys, that means that, those guys have worked hard. And, I know the work that we put in as a staff this season. And so I would love nothing more than to, have the, championship solidify all of the things that we've gone through and overcome, this season. But, I don't think I need to prove anything to anyone. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, brought players here that, I've helped develop and put in the NBA. I've bought, players here that, are now part of the pipeline that also have a chance. And again, like we don't determine success by winning at the G League level. We determine by the way we develop. And I think I've done, a good job of that. And I think that's, but more importantly, I think what I want to be judged on is how I treated people, how I helped, these players, how I impacted their lives, how I made them better people. I'd rather be, judged, by that more than anything.
Yeah, I love that. Who is your favorite player, two-way player that has gone and got a NBA contract?
Yeah, probably Jordan Goodwin, who just got converted to the Wizards
Okay.
a couple of weeks ago. He was one of the first. I had Chris Chioza my first year, and he had a stint on two-way contracts, a couple with Houston and Brooklyn, and the Warriors won a championship with the Warriors, and so we're still close and we talk. But I would say Jay Good because he was my first, as GM. And our scouting staff did a good job bringing him, into our organization. And then honestly, once he got here, we hit it off immediately. And it was a lot of, accountability conversations and telling him like, scoring not going to be your way in, defending and playmaking is going to be your way in. And once he bought in, he kind of took off from there. And so to see his success is something that, keeps me sane and keeps me, wanting to, still do this. And so I would say him for sure.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So my last question, I know you have an ultimate goal of being an NBA GM. For you, what do you have? What else do you have to learn, or I guess grasp onto and master in order for you to get that NBA GM job?
Yeah, I mean, continuing to gain experience and continue to add responsibilities and continue to be in a place um where I can be empowered and be myself and be encouraged to be myself is something that I think is going to continue to shape me and make me a prime candidate for being a GM. And I mean, I really don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's, a matter of when. But I'm where my feet are. I'm not looking towards the next step. I don't have to be a GM today at 30. And so I, want to take, time and make sure I get the opportunities to, evaluate more, scout more. I'm really good at the day-to-day stuff. I'm really good at, scouting, but just, getting more reps. Ultimately, like even as a basketball player, the more reps you get, the better you get. And so, that's what I think, is my next step. And so I'm excited to see, what that looks like.
I love that. I love that. Well, Amber, I appreciate your time. Let everybody know where they can follow For the City and follow you on Instagram and how they can support.
Yeah, so you can follow me at Amber Nichols, my first and last name. That's it. And then For the City is at For the City, FORR the City on Instagram. And then we also have a website, www.forthecity.org. You can learn more about the organization. You can donate. We're a brand new nonprofit, so we're in our fundraising phase, and so any donation 100% goes to all the kids. All of the events that we've hosted and will host will always be free. Kids will never have to pay for anything. That was the premise of me starting this. And so with that, we need sponsors and help. And so anybody that's willing to donate or sponsor or partner with us, we would greatly appreciate it.
That's dope. That's dope. I love that. It's the More Muse Podcast. We out.